different programs out there for different types of buyers. And today we've asked Paul to come on and talk about the construction loans and renovation loans because it serves a particular purpose in a market like this where the inventory is still pretty low, and it's good to have all of these options. And let's start with the construction loans, right? There's a lot of new construction going on, but I would imagine if somebody's getting a construction loan, this is probably for when they buy land and then they have their own home being built. Is that it? Is that right?
Correct. So as you alluded to, there, new construction, there's kind of two ways to do this. The more traditional way is in buying the land, building the house pretty much from ground up. The other option would be what's called turnkey. That's when you're working with a builder, a developer who does build homes, and then you close on the house once it's complete, and then you have final inspection. I'm talking about today the houses where you're buying the land, bare land that's buildable lot and going from land to home. Typically, most lenders out there, and you probably heard this before, 20% down is kind of the industry norm. Some places are 10% down. We actually have a program with 5% down new construction, which, if you think about, that's the same as going conventional 5% down. So it's nothing in terms of down payment. It's right in line with that. And, at Northpointe, our program, essentially, if you have the 5% down or more, of course, we look at it as a package where the land and build is in one. Let's say you're buying a house, all said and done. Let's say land is worth, just for sake of this discussion, $200,000 for land, and let's say it's $500,000 to build a home. So all said and done, you're at $700,000, which in this market is common for a new construction in that ballpark. And let's say you put down the 5%, that would be $35,000 of the $700,000 total. And what happens is in this program, really quickly, is at closing, you close on the land itself. The money is dispersed for the land, and then the remaining money for the build is kept in an escrow account.
Yep.
And basically, as a buyer, what happens is you pay interest only during the build, which is usually about between 9 and 12 months is the average. And the borrower is paying interest only on as money's being dispersed. So, for example, the first disbursement is a $200,000 for the land in this case. So you're paying interest only in the land. And then as work is being done, let's say the framing, every phase of which we agree upon in a contract, then you start saying, okay, let's say framing is $60,000. Now, essentially, you're at $260,000 total that's drawn. You're paying interest only on that. So you're only paying interest as the house is being built. You're not paying on the whole amount from day one. And the reason why it's important, I feel, is because most people who are buying a home, they usually, in the meantime, when the house is being built, they either have another mortgage they're paying on their existing home, or they're paying rent, or so they have other expenses they're incurring, and they also have the second, the house where it's getting built. So it's a way to kind of balance the two.
We also got renovation loans, and renovation loans, I think, are a little bit more complex. They're a little bit more involved. We're not seeing a ton of these, but they are good in certain circumstances. Paul, can you talk about a renovation loan and how it works, the different types?
Absolutely. So the most common, there are two essentially renovation loans, two types. What I mean by that is an FHA 203K, and then there's also a conventional renovation loan as well. And I'll just talk about each real quick and just kind of the pros and cons. So a 203K loan, most of us have heard about this program. FHA requires 3.5% down. Typically, minimum credit scores around 620. There are certain exceptions. This is something where there's two types. There's what's called a streamline and a full. If it's a smaller project, $35,000 or less, it's a streamlined 203K loan. With those type of programs, it's a little easier getting the approval with the limited, the $35,000 or less. There's also the full, which is over $35,000. And the biggest difference is with the full, the documentation required, the builder approval process. There's also a 203K consultant that has to be involved. So either of those paths can work. I will say that not that they're bad, they're a great program, 3.5% down, but they're a little bit more red tape involved. There's FHA rules and regulations. So that is something we can definitely do. I've done them in the past. They usually take 45 to 60 days to close. So that's the most common, 203K FHA. Then we have something at Northpointe where it's called a home style renovation loan. And this program is conventional. It does require 5% down, but there are two types. There's what's called the streamline and the full renovation. The streamline is for smaller projects, where what we do is we basically look at the total between the cost of the home plus work to be done. We'll do up to 15%. So quick math, you have a house at $500,000. You can do 15%, which is $75,000 worth of renovation on that house. That's the streamline renovation loan that we have. 5% down. You have 4 months to complete the work. And there's basically all you need. There's no builder approval. You just need a contractor, a bid, and their license and insurance. So there's no process of vetting the builder fully. The traditional renovation loan for the conventional, it's 11 months to do the work. it's up to 75% of the total. So if you're buying a house, again, 500,000, up to 75% of the total cost for the house plus work to be done can be used for the project. So it's almost like a full gut, like almost like, doing the whole house over. These 11 months you have to do the work. It does require a builder approval, though. So the vetting process is a little bit more intense, but again, it's still a little easier than a 203K loan. And the pros with these loans are that, you have conventional guidelines, you close in 30 to 40 days, and it's only 5% down. It's a great program. I've done a lot of these conventional renovation loans recently.